This is a Wfxr Sports Special presentation. Welcome to the Commonwealth Bowl Blitz, sponsored by First Team Auto Mall and Anchor Truck Accessories.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Jermaine Farrell, hoping your day is wonderful and blessed and like butter. Let's get on the roll, baby, with a little show we like to call the Commonwealth Bowl Blitz. Over the next half hour, we take a look back at the season of college football and the Commonwealth as Virginia Tech, Liberty, and Virginia forged on to have a season. And for the second straight year, the Liberty Flames will be going bowling, and their destination for a bowl will look very familiar, as well as their opponent, LU. In back-to-back years, they'll be going to Orlando to play in the Cure Bowl. Now, the Flames' opponent will be former Big South rival Coastal Carolina. You may recall LU was supposed to play the Chanticleers on December 5th, but COVID-19 cases on the Flames team forced a cancellation. Now, the game will kick off on December 26th at noon from Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Now, last year, the game was played at Exploria Stadium as the Orlando City SC home site, where LU got the win over Georgia Southern 23-16. Coach Freeze talks about the planning against Coastal Carolina and a quick turnaround.
We already have a game plan in place that we had from a couple weeks ago, and will it tinker some? Maybe, but it's not like we have to start from scratch, and we felt good about our game plan the first go-round, and so I doubt it'll change very much. So I'm sure that's advantageous for both us and Coastal.
Now, meanwhile, the Virginia Cavaliers football program declared the 2020 season over following their loss in the Commonwealth clash to Blacksburg to the Virginia Tech Hokies. And the Cavaliers saying no to playing in any potential bowl game after head coach Bronco Mendenhall met with the team's captains. UVA ending the year with a 5-5 record, but they will not play in what would have been a fourth straight bowl appearance. Meanwhile, after 27 straight seasons, the Virginia Tech Hokies football team will not be going to a bowl. Now, the game this year, it was the longest streak going on in the nation, and Coach Justin Fuente said he met with the team and the players decided they wanted to bypass any postseason opportunities. The Hokies ended their season with a 5-6 record.
I think it speaks to the difficulty of the season that they've been through. There were players that wanted to play, and we're passionate about that, but we were going to do this all together or not. And it became evident that it was a very difficult situation.
Virginia Tech was hit particularly hard by coronavirus issues throughout the season. Athletic Director Whit Babcock estimated about 3/4 of the team contracted the virus since March, along with 8 of 10 full-time assistants.
There's kids that would like to go home for Christmas. There's kids that haven't been home in some time. This is ultimately about our kids, and I think they've sacrificed enough. They've been at this for some time and given up freedoms and plenty of opportunities.
With the nation's longest active bowl streak over at 27, fans have their thoughts about it being over.
Honestly, it is pretty disappointing because we're known pretty nationally as we have the longest bowl streak ever, 27 years, and that coming in as a freshman, that was what we touted. We were we had that bowl streak and everything, and knowing that's gone, it's a little disappointing, but I can understand why the players opted out of it.
Our players are aware of all of that, and they take it very seriously. So are our coaches. So am I. I mean, I believe that the players are the ones that have sacrificed the most, so they should make the decision.
And now we know the bowl situation with the Liberty Flames, the Virginia Tech Hokies, and the Virginia Cavaliers. Let's get some reaction on this from our very own David de Guzman. And David joining me from a nice festive location. We won't tell where it is, but it's pretty cool. David, first of all, your thoughts about Virginia Tech opting out?
Well, first off, Jermaine, let's just be grateful that we even got to this point in the season, because I remember Justin Fuente saying, he was talking with Bronco Mendenhall when the season opener against UVA got postponed. He wasn't sure that we even get to this point, to get to December, but yet here we are. And honestly, of the 3 schools that were figuring out the decisions on whether or not to play a bowl game, I was actually most surprised by this one, considering how long the bowl streak had gone, considering it seemed like all season long that Virginia Tech had something to prove. But when you think about what the Hokies have gone through this year, that 75% of the roster had gone through COVID-19 issues, when 8 out of 10 coaches have gone through COVID-19, according to Athletic Director Whit Babcock. When you think about all the protocols that this team has had to go through. I mean, if there was going to be a year where the bowl streak had to end and you take that pressure off the program, 2020 was probably going to be that year. So it wasn't surprising. And we heard Justin Fuente say earlier, we were either going to do this all together or not at all. And clearly there were some players that wanted to play a bowl game, but it wasn't unanimous. And that's probably why they went with that decision. And we saw that there's a lot of focus now on long-term building after those press conferences from Justin Fuente and with Babcock. There's a lot of soul searching to do in this offseason, and it starts now, and probably a bowl game would have taken away from that.
Whoa, that's some good stuff right there. And real quick, your thoughts about Virginia also opting out in a bowl situation.
Surprising in another way. I mean, I'm not totally surprised considering the way that Bronco Mendenhall has carried this program. He seems to put a much greater emphasis on how this game is much more than just football, how it's about family. And just think about the strides that Bronco Mendenhall has put this program through over the last couple of years. I mean, to go from what was a very much a losing season in Broncos' first year to the success of, you know, making it to the ACC championship game, being a Coastal Division champion last year, and also making an appearance in the Orange Bowl. But Bronco Mendenhall really does put the emphasis on family and just things that are greater than football. Now, you know, they've also gone through what everyone else has gone through, the struggles of going through COVID-19 protocols. And what's a great, you know, accomplishment from this team is that they didn't really have those COVID-19 issues that a lot of other teams did. When there were postponements, it was because of issues with the opponent. They really did do a great job of making sure COVID-19 wasn't a huge issue on the Who side, and for that, they should be commended.
And David, on the flip side, you got Liberty getting a bowl bid, finding out Sunday they'll be playing in a Cure Bowl, back-to-back seasons. Just your thought about Liberty. They accepted the bowl bid.
And Jermaine, I think I'm breaking some news here because just moments before we went on air, we found out that this matchup is actually going to be moved to prime time, a 7:30 p.m. matchup originally scheduled for noon. It just says a lot about this matchup itself against Coastal Carolina. This is going to be the first ranked opponent matchup in the short history of the Cure Bowl. The Cure Bowl has only been around for 6 years. And think about also the fact that these two teams were supposed to play in the regular season finale earlier this month. So there's a lot of hype going into this. And honestly, I think a lot of college football fans are glad that the game is actually going to happen. But when you think about Liberty and you think about the progress that this team has made in such a short amount of time, this is only Hugh Freeze's second year in the program. I think this bowl game was very important. Both Ian McCaw and Hugh Freeze talked about how important this opportunity was in the trajectory of making long-term gains as they're now going to enter the third year of being a FBS program in 2021.
Look at Dave DeGuzman breaking the news. And speaking of breaking news, we're going to have you back later in the show. We'll dig more into that Commonwealth Bowl Blitz matchup between Liberty and Coastal Carolina as those two teams will meet in the Cure Bowl. Well, guess what, folks? Coming up on the Commonwealth Bowl Blitz, we take a look back at the season for the Virginia Tech Hokies, including the biggest highlight for the Hokies football program. This is Commonwealth Bowl Blitz.
And now, back to the Commonwealth Bowl Blitz, sponsored by First Team Auto Mall and Anchor Truck Accessories.
All right, welcome back to Commonwealth Bowl Blitz. We take a look back at the season of our three area teams hitting the college football gridiron this fall. First up, we take a look back at the season for the Virginia Tech Hokies. Now, the Hokies, they finished the season with a record of 5-6 overall, 5-5 in the ACC. Tech had their first losing regular season since 1992, and the juice was loose, as in running back Khalil Juice Herbert. He led the nation all-purpose yards. And the Hokies played their full 11-game schedule. The highlight of the season for the Hokies came in the season finale on December 12th at Lane Stadium when they beat the Cavaliers of Virginia 33-15 in the Commonwealth Clash. Now, the Hokies, they entered the game on a 4-game losing streak and nipped it in the bud. Virginia Tech has beaten Virginia in 20 of their last 22 meetings. Well, Virginia Tech is sticking with Justin Fuente as its head football coach. Now, the Hokies athletic director Whit Babcock held a lengthy press conference last Tuesday afternoon addressing the state of the program. And David DeGuzman explains why Fuente will remain part of the Hokies' future.
So we believe we have the right guy, and that is what we're going to move forward with.
In an opening statement that spanned 24 minutes, Whit Babcock made his case for why the Hokies aren't saying goodbye to Justin Fuente anytime soon.
Spent 4 hours yesterday morning with Justin, saw and heard what I wanted to see, and it energized me.
The school's athletic director relaying a sense of confidence in the head football coach, despite the Hokies finishing with a losing record in the regular season for the first time in nearly 3 decades.
The decision on Justin's future here was never made about money. He's competitive, he's focused, NSA compliant, the grades are good, student development. He's still young, and I like what I see on the learning front.
The Hokies haven't competed for an ACC championship since 2016, which also marked the last time they won a bowl game. Babcock recognizing the last 5 seasons haven't been easy.
This is year 1 of being totally Justin's program, all of his players. I believe that the transition from Coach Beamer and Bud Foster was harder than anticipated, and I now feel like Justin is getting his feet under him and getting his own group. So in some way, it's year 1.
Babcock promising a better future while also addressing the fans that wanted to see a new head coach.
Don't tear it down. Some will try to continue to tear it down and never stop, just to justify their previous position of thinking we needed to make a change. And before long, Virginia Tech will move successfully from a challenger brand to a champion brand.
And that was David de Guzman reporting that the Virginia Tech football program has had a history of fathers, sons, and siblings playing for the Hokies. Now, Hokie star Nick Gallo turns out is joining this list. He isn't the first Gallo to play for the Hokies, and Ryan Moy talks about the impact his family has had on his development as a player.
For Virginia Tech tight end Nick Gallo, the game of football has always been a family affair.
My brother played here, so I got to give him credit for that. Obviously, he got me prepared well to kind of figure out the playbook as well and give me some tips about focusing on the playbook and then locking into what the coaches say.
Gallo joined the team back in 2019. His older brother Eric was a center for the Hokies from 2014 to 2017. So Nick wasn't a stranger to Blacksburg and Hokie Nation.
I came down when he was still getting recruited by Beamer. So, it was probably 7 years I've been coming here to Tech. So I obviously knew the campus well. He would always try to say, neutral. So he would never try to push me towards BT, which I always thought was funny.
Nick's older brother Eric wasn't the only one who influenced his love of the sport. His older brother PJ played a role in his development as well, especially at the tight end position.
My oldest brother played tight end at Maryland. He was great in the pass game wise. He would teach me all sorts of things. I think it really helped me. I was able to play 7-on-7 in high school too, which helped me a lot in the pass game. And then having Eric too obviously helped me. He would help me with all the run game stuff, pass sets, run blocks. So it's kind of best of both worlds.
In the end, for the Gallo brothers, the family that has continued to play together will always stay together. Local in Blacksburg, Ryan Moy, Wfxr Sports.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Coming up on Commonwealth Bowl Blitz, we take a look back at the season of the Virginia Cavaliers, including their biggest highlight of the Cavaliers football program. Stick and stay, please, for more Commonwealth Bowl Blitz.
And now, back to the Commonwealth Bowl Blitz, sponsored by First Team Auto Mall and Anchor Truck Accessories.
And welcome back to the Commonwealth Bowl Blitz. I'm your host, Jermaine Farrell. Up next, we take a look back at the season for the Virginia Cavaliers. Now, UVA finished their season with a .500 record of 5-5 overall, 4-5 in ACC. UVA had a streaky season. They won their first game, then won 4 straight, then They lost 4 straight, then they won 4 straight, and then they lost their season finale against Virginia Tech. Now, the Virginia Cavaliers' highlight of the season came on Halloween night. It was a treat and not a trick for UVA as 6 different players scored touchdowns in the game as Virginia knocked off 15th-ranked North Carolina at that time, 44-41. UVA's win over number 15 North Carolina, it's its highest over an AP Top 25 team since beating number 12 Georgia Tech in 2011. Virginia, at that point, they won 4 straight games against UNC. Well, Lansing, Michigan native and Virginia football star Tony Poljan continues to find success on the gridiron, but his path has been different somewhat for a difficult time as he was growing up. Ryan Moy reports with all the challenges that Poljan's faced along the way, he's not letting those obstacles define him.
So, at first, started young.
University of Virginia tight end Tony Poljan has always had to battle through adversity due to his speech impediment.
I used to get made fun of.
But the taunting stopped the day he put on pads and picked up a football.
I would go out on the football field or court, and it wouldn't matter what people said, because I was always gonna try harder. I was always going to win.
Poljan transferred from Central Michigan and found a new home with the Virginia Cavaliers this season, and he's ready to get to work.
I reported and had to quarantine, so during that time I really learned the playbooks.
Now Poljan is receiving passes from newly named starting quarterback Brennan Armstrong, and he's putting opposing defenses and the haters on notice.
Just at the end of the day, the actions speak louder than the words. I'm very upfront with it, so with me is what you will see is what you will get.
And that was Ryan Moy with that report. Coming up on Commonwealth Bowl Blitz, we take a look back at the season of the Liberty Flames, including their biggest highlight for the Flames football, Commonwealth Bowl Blitz. Coming up on the other side.
And now, back to the Commonwealth Bowl Blitz, sponsored by First Team Auto Mall and Anchor Truck Accessories.
And welcome back to Commonwealth Bowl Blitz. Now on deck, we take a look back at the season for the Liberty Flames. Now LU finished the season with a 9-1 record, including a program best 8-0 start. Then they wrapped up the regular season ranked 23rd in the AP and coaches polls. The Flames had a 10-game winning streak spanning over 2 seasons, and LU went 2-1 against the ACC. The highlight for the Liberty Flames this season was one of those 2 Flames ACC wins. Alex Barbier, you see him right there, kicked the Flames to a 38-35 win over Virginia Tech at Lane Stadium. The longest field goal in Barbier's career from 51 yards punctuated a frantic final 2 minutes in Blacksburg, which featured 17 points and an apparent Virginia Tech game-winning touchdown on a return of a blocked field goal. As we talked about just before, that LU highlight was made possible by LU place kicker Alex Barbier. Now, Ryan Moy tells us about the kicker whose journey has been one of faith, family, and football.
A picture is worth 1,000 words, and for Liberty University football kicker Alex Barbier, this moment in time almost didn't happen.
I had hip surgery, I left football, I haven't been kicking for 2 years. Why would I go try out for a team to play with only 1 year eligibility left when they've had to do play for 3-4 years?
Last Saturday, Barbier hit a 51-yard game-winning field goal to beat Virginia Tech at Lane Stadium. Just a few years ago, the former Penn State kicker hung up his pads and quit football altogether while recovering from surgery.
I mean, when I first got surgery, my parents were with me, picked me up, and I had a wheelchair, I couldn't walk, things like that. They actually stayed with me in a hotel at Penn State for, at least a month.
Barbier then left for Liberty University and became a full-time student. That's until former Flames kicker Alex Probert transferred to Iowa State.
Like, what do I have to lose besides possibly being good? If I fail, I fail. I'm no more in a negative spot than what I was already at. You know what I mean? And ultimately, a big part of why I chose to play was not really even for myself, but it was to honor my parents.
Barbier says his spirituality has played a major role in his success with the Flames.
I had a lot of doubt in my mind about God and my past and how things went out, and I had to deal with that. You know, it's tough dealing with those things, and ultimately having a lot of mentors and people that are Christ-like and on the same journey as me, or people that have been able to kind of spur me and get me in the right spot, and really allowed me to grow and mature.
Local in Lynchburg, Ryan Moy, Wfxr Sports.
And thanks so much, Ryan, for that report. Now, rejoining me right now, WFXR Sports' David de Guzman. And we do have one Commonwealth team in a bowl game, Liberty Flames, going back to the Cure Bowl for the 2nd straight season, taking on Coastal Carolina, a night game, as you mentioned earlier. The teams were supposed to play in the season finale back on December 5th. And David, just your early thoughts about this matchup, because obviously what Liberty is saying, beat Coastal.
Yeah, and Jermaine, don't call it a sense of familiarity per se, because Hugh Freeze did say that, you know, even though they're back in Orlando, it's not going to be the same. One, because it's going to be in a different stadium. It's going to be at Camping World Stadium. And 2, it's 2020, so the atmosphere is just different. It's going to feel more like a road game. But Hugh Freeze is going to make sure that his team is well prepared. They have a lot of confidence. And looking forward to see one more act in 2020 from Malik Willis, the Auburn transfer quarterback who's just been so prolific on the Flames offense.
And I tell you one thing, David, it is going to be a fun atmosphere. It's going to be some good stuff down in Orlando. I can tell you it's going to be a little bit different. You're not going to really have the bowl stuff that you typically would. Real quick, in about 30 seconds, give me a prediction on this game. Who you feel is going to win this game?
You know, I think Coastal Carolina might have the edge because they have that, you know, confidence coming from beating BYU in the game that they were supposed to play against Liberty. But again, a huge opportunity for the Flames. If they can go out and #beat Coastal, it would say a lot about where this team is going. So I think it's going to be an even matchup. These are two Big South rivals renewing a rivalry, and the series is split down the middle, 7-7 apiece.
Well, David, we got to have the tiebreaker. So we're going to have that tiebreaker coming up. David de Guzman, thank you so much. So festive right there. Well, guess what, folks? That does it for this edition of the Commonwealth Bowl Blitz. For David de Guzman, Ryan Moy, and our awesome behind-the-scenes crew, I'm Jermaine Farrell. Hope all of your teams are winners. Have a wonderful and blessed night, everyone. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.